So I'm making this video specifically for my sister-in-law for her birthday. So happy birthday, Lisa. I hope you enjoy this practice. It is our gift to you from Almost Home Yoga. The neat thing about our bodies and birthdays is that, in a sense, we are always having a new birth. Our bodies were uniquely designed to continually be turning over cells and healing ourselves and making ourselves whole from minute to minute. So this practice will be great for every day and any day, just to renew your body, and specifically to throwing in some things to build bone. So some of these poses will be ones that have been proven to stop or reverse osteoporosis. So there's a few things you need to know about that. You need to hold them for like 30 seconds, and you want to do two things. Avoid two things. Avoid rounding the upper spine, that like kyphotic dowager's hump shape, and you want to be sure that you are not going to fall. So practicing near a wall or some props. So we're going to get started by just closing our eyes if you're comfortable and focusing on your breath. Simply inhaling and exhaling through your nose, sitting up really tall. As your mind starts to quiet, gratitude is always a great place to begin a practice. So perhaps choosing one thing that you're grateful for, or a person, and dedicating this practice to that idea. Good. So gently floating your eyes open before we begin. You'll want to have some kind of a strap. It could be a belt or an old tie or a hand towel, yoga strap, whatever you've got. And a yoga block or two. You can always duct tape a stack of old books together. That works well as well. So here we go. We're going to start laying on your back. If your upper spine is a little bit rounded, you could take a towel or a blanket and tuck it under your head, and that's going to give you a little bit more natural curve in your spine. So your feet are close to your hips. And we're just going to start by kind of warming the spine, right? So you're going to draw your knees into your chest. Inhaling. Exhale, take your heels to the ceiling, maybe your fingertips too. Inhale here. Exhale, knees back into the chest. And inhale, plant your feet. Exhale here. Do that again. Inhale. Draw the knees into the chest. Exhale, take your heels, your fingertips to the ceiling, and inhale, stay there. Pull your low belly in. Feel your spine get long. Then exhale, knees back to the chest. Inhale, plant your feet. Okay, so I'm going to move this prop for the next pose. It's a bridge pose. This will be the first one that's great for your bone health. So maybe you can even touch your heels with your fingertips. You're going to push your feet into the mat, your upper arms into the mat. Keep your neck long and inhale, lift your hips to the sky. And exhale, drop your hips back down. We're going to do that again. Inhale, hips to the sky. Exhale, drop the hips back down. So this next one we're going to hold for about 30 seconds. Inhaling, you might even want to tuck your shoulder blades together and interlace your hands underneath you. And just focus on your breath, maybe even closing your eyes. Imagining your spine getting longer by your knees reaching toward one end of the mat and your rib cage lifting to the ceiling. So keep that low belly pulling in. One more deep breath. And exhaling, gently release. Nice. So we're going to do a little bit more core work. So inhaling, draw your knees into your chest. And then exhaling, take the heels to the ceiling. So if you have trouble with your low back, you could tuck your palms facing down with your index fingers and your thumbs touching one another underneath your sacrum. And that'll help protect the low back. You're going to exhale one leg down, let it hover over the mat. Inhale up. Exhale the other leg down. Just feel that heat building in your belly. Inhaling back up. We can do that 2 more times. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Just move with your breath. Feel your spine longer. Feel your abdominals stronger. And draw your knees into your chest. So the next pose is going to be both a hamstring stretch and good for bone health, called Supta Padangusthasana. So the goal here is to push your foot into the strap, into the prop, and keep your arms long as you draw your shoulder blades back towards the mat. All right, so if your hamstrings are tight, you might need to bend the knee a little bit. Eventually you want to get to that nice right angle, right? So keep that bottom leg, calf pushing into the mat, foot flexed, engaged. Soften the neck, the throat. Keep reaching that top heel toward the ceiling. So we're putting force on the pelvic joint, the femur, which is what builds your bones. A couple more deep breaths, soften the arms. And exhaling, gently release. We'll go right to the other side. So lengthening the arms, draw the shoulders back to the mat. Stretch that bottom leg out if you can. You might notice a difference from one side to the other. Pushing the foot into the strap. Just breathe. Once again, softening where you can, even while you're giving the leg a pretty good effort. You got to work pretty hard at these poses. They're not passive, right? We've opposing energy out through the heels. And exhaling, gently release. Good. So you're going to roll safely to one side, right? Use your top arm to push yourself up to seated. Okay. So before we transition to standing, we're just going to do a little like rolling our ribs to move that spine a little bit more, right? So you can sit however is comfortable. If your hips are tight, you might even want to sit up on a block. And just start to take your hips in a big circle, letting your head and shoulders get involved. Exhaling backwards. Inhaling forward. And changing directions, maybe coming back to that intention of gratitude that you set. Knowing that the energy you put out there is what comes back to you. Again, feeling that energy in your spine. Moving all those new healthy cells around. Good. And then just come on back to seated. Just tuning into the body. Not only noticing how you feel, but how you heal. And then we're going to come to standing. Drop our bellies, curl our toes under, push your palms into the mat, inhaling, lift your hips. Just look at that space between your thumbs. It's like a little downward dog, right? Knees can stay soft. And as you exhale, start to pull your knees in towards your belly. So you could always grab a block. They make your arms longer. And come to standing with a flat back. So reach the crown of the head out long. Keep the knees soft, the hands on the thighs. Raising up to standing. Good. So I've got the wall right behind me. If you want to use the wall for stability, just come off your mat, right? Or you could stand sideways and hold the wall with one hand, right? That's all I'll do. So tree pose. The important thing here is to get all your body weight on one leg. Doesn't matter where your foot is, right? But you don't want to use the top foot as a kickstand. You want to get all that body weight on one leg. So put your foot wherever it will go. Find one place to focus that's not moving. So that focus and your breath, paying attention to your breath, will help your body stay still. If by chance you lose your balance, just come right back. Opposing forces pushing the thigh into the foot and the foot into the thigh or the calf, wherever you are. Dropping the tailbone. And exhaling, gently release. So we'll do that same thing on the other side. Shift your body weight into the other leg. Stay nice and tall on that leg, so not slumping into the hip at all. So it's going to help us build bone in the pelvis and the low back. Find your focal point. And come back to your breath. Again, softening where you can and efforting where you need to, which is firming up the legs. The knees way out to the side if you can. It's going to put more pressure on your pelvis. So this pose and the next two, not only building bone health, but cultivating confidence. And exhaling, gently release. All right. So the next pose is going to be Warrior Two. You're going to take a big wide straddle. Toes are right now pointing forward. You're going to take one side and turn those toes out to the short edge of your mat. So you have a, if you drew a line from your front heel to your back arch, that's the alignment you want, right? Keep your hands on your hips, facing the camera, and as you exhale, bend that front knee. Take it right out over the toes. You should still be able to see your big toes. That knee's going towards the back side of the body. Again, you can always do this right against the wall for stability, right? And then you're going to inhale your arms out to the side. Firm up those tricep muscles. So imagine yourself as a legal scale with all the weight pulling out and dropping down. So you want to get as low into those hips as you can. Gaze over those front fingertips and just breathe. Eventually, maybe your front thigh will be parallel to the mat. And exhale, take that forearm to your thigh. Look at your back fingers and sweep them around over your head. Keep your chest nice and open. So you're one long line from that heel to the top of your fingertips. You want to try and think about taking the bottom of your ribs toward your thigh, so it's not a side bend. You're keeping your ribs and your spine in a straight line. Maybe just looking down at your toes or up at the sky. Making any adjustments you need. Shouldn't be any pain anywhere. Try not to dump into that bottom arm. Smile. Everything's easier when you smile. Good. So to come out of it, you're going to bring your hand to your hip, straighten that front leg, and turn the toes in. Nice. So we're going to go right to the other side. So we want to be efficient with our time, right? but also enjoy the practice. So dropping into that hip nice and low. Take those arms out to the side and begin to breathe deeply. Open your chest, open your shoulders, maybe even turn your palms facing up, and then rotate them back down. Nice. And on an exhale, take your forearm to your thigh. Sweep those fingers forward and over your head. Take those bottom ribs toward your thigh. Maybe gazing up. Again, you can still do this against the wall. You could do it holding onto the wall. Just want to avoid falling. Use your feet, push them into the mat. And inhaling. Come on back up and turn those toes in. Beautiful. Heel toe your way in. That's a way to keep your sacrum safe. Inhale your arms up. And exhale, bring your hands back to your heart center. Maybe close your eyes. Once again, coming back to that gratitude focus. So we'll bring ourselves down to the mat by bending our knees, right? So it's got a little bit of a chair pose. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me, right? And then again, reaching for a block or bringing your hands to the mat. You're going to take one leg back, way far back so that this knee stays over the ankle. Float that knee down. Good. And we're going to come right onto our bellies for a locust pose. So these back bends are really important. There's no reason as we get older to have that rounding of the upper back. So we're going to keep our spine strong by working the muscles of the back body. So push the tops of the feet into the mat, just so you get a feel for what it will be like. Squeeze your elbows in and then tuck your pelvis under. So we're keeping the lower spine long. All right, so you want to keep that action. And then as you inhale, lift your shoulders and take your fingertips toward your heels. So we're really just using our back muscles, not our arms, right? This is going to feel long. It's okay. It's a journey. So keep those low belly muscles tucked in, and inhale, lift your heels. Maybe lift your shoulders a little bit more, and start to follow your breath. So we're feeling the spine get longer, gazing at the mat, so not hyperextending the back of the neck. Drawing those shoulder blades toward the waist. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Maybe point your toes like a ballerina and then peel your toes back. We call that yoga toes. Couple more deep breaths. Get those shoulders up. Get those heels up, neck long. And exhaling, gently release. Place your forehead on your hands, bend your knees, and windshield wiper from side to side. Just releasing that low back. And then inhaling, put your hands under your shoulders, pull your low belly in, come on back to all fours. All right, let's do one more core strengthener. Take one heel out behind you and take your other opposite thumb up to the sky. Just a couple breaths here. So feeling your spine long, 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 toes pointing down, low belly still pulled in. And exhale. Do the same thing on the other side. Inhaling, opposite heel and thumb out. And exhaling, gently release. Just drop to one hip. And we're going to do a spinal twist. So ideally, you would want to have one heel tucked right under your opposite hip so the knee is pointing straight forward. If that doesn't work for your knee, it's fine. Just leave your leg extended out. So wherever that bottom leg is, you're trying to take the top leg over the knee. So if it doesn't work to do that, you could plant your foot just by the knee on the other side. All right, so twists, if done safely, are fine if you have osteoporosis, as long as you're keeping your shoulders level. So you don't want to do any kind of folding in that way. You just want to twist like around an axis, right? Like you're twisting around a rod. So inhale, get really, really tall. And then maybe even take that other arm up, helping you lengthen the spine and rest the fingertips behind you. And then use mostly your belly muscles and your back muscles to twist, not so much your hand. And gaze over your back shoulder. Find one place to rest your gaze and come back to your breath. On the inhales, you get tall. And on the exhales, see if you can deepen a little bit more. Try and get both hips on the ground. You'll feel this in your pelvis. Think about pulling that top thigh toward your midline. You'll feel it even more. Keep your foot planted. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Twist a little more. And then let it go. All right, we'll go right to the other side. Crossing the foot over if you can. Bending the bottom knee if you can. Right? If that doesn't work, it could look like this, and that's okay too, right? So inhaling, getting really tall, taking that opposite arm up and over, making the spine long, and again, mostly using your belly and back muscles, not your hand. Start to gaze over the back shoulder. So inhale, getting tall as you exhale, deepen again. As we finish up our practice, recognizing that the one thing we can't get more of is time. So giving yourself a mental pat on the back for dedicating time to your health and your healing and constant rebirth that's going on in your body. Exhaling, gently release. Inhaling, uncurl your legs. And preparing for the most important pose of all, the biggest gift you can give yourself, Shavasana. Right, that ability to be still and allow all this wonderful energy you've created in your body to sink in. Excuse me. So I like to put, again, the blanket under my head. Just pull your low belly in. Gently roll yourself down. If you have low back trouble, you could keep your knees bent. But if you can, just stretch your legs out, heels apart, toes flopping open. Try and get anything out of your way so you're not touching any props. Tuck your shoulder blades together and take your palms facing up, just away from your hips. Inhaling and exhaling. So following your breath for as long as you need to. And just let that go. If your mind wanders, just bring it right back to your breath. So no need to do anything until you hear my voice again. So ideally you would stay here for 5 to 8 minutes. You might want to turn the video off. Set your timer. If it's time for you to get moving again, start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And then eventually bending your knees again. Maybe lift the hips a little bit, lengthen the spine. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little hug, maybe rock back forth. And then gently roll yourself to one side, again, using that top arm to push yourself up safely to seated. Maybe keep your eyes closed. One last time, feel your spine getting really long. Rest your hands on your thighs. Inhale one more time. Exhale, bring your hands, palms together at your heart, bowing your head. Recognizing this gift that you've given yourself, that every moment is a moment of rebirth. Every day, a chance to begin again. The spirit in me honors the spirit in you. Namaste.